Well, this module will address some issues associated with equipment and supplies in your career technical education laboratory. And keep in mind that what we're talking about is going to be part of the handbook assignment for the class. So hopefully you'll get some good information from this module as you work toward completing that assignment. The first thing to discuss is a definition of equipment. What is equipment? And your district will have different criteria, different definitions of what that is. What you see on this slide is a few different characteristics of what schools consider to be the characteristics of equipment. Many times what constitutes equipment is just basically the cost. If it's over this $300 magic amount, a lot of school districts consider that to be a piece of equipment. But there are also some other issues here, other characteristics, other questions that your district may ask before they determine something to be a piece of equipment. When you are considering new equipment to purchase, this is a list of things to consider. And I know many of you are working in spaces perhaps that have been converted. You're starting a program that was housed in a space that was a different program 2 years ago or 5 years ago. A lot of you are starting brand new career tech programs, and so you have some space considerations and also other issues related to power and equipment, ventilation systems, those sorts of things. So that could be a concern for you. Some of you are working brand new programs in brand new buildings, and hopefully those issues have been ironed out beforehand. But these are some other things you need to consider when you're looking at new equipment. When you put in requests, and most of you, your school districts will have defined times where your supervisors will come to you and say, what do you need for next year? What new equipment do you want? These are some things that you might want to put together in a little mini proposal to your supervisor. I've always told my teachers the more things you can do for your supervisor to get them information about the equipment that you want to buy, do their work for them, you're more likely that your proposal will go to the top of the list. So these are some things that if you can find out about this piece of equipment ahead of time, put that in the proposal. There are occasions where renting equipment is a good option. It doesn't require a lot of money up front. You're not making a huge purchase. So a lot of times that's very attractive. Many times equipment that's rented has a service agreement that's included, so if something goes wrong, a student breaks something or knocks something out of adjustment, service agreement can take care of that at little or no cost to the district. That's an attractive piece as well. And it allows you perhaps to try something out before you do purchase it. So those are things to consider when you're looking at renting or leasing equipment. A couple other issues. I know that my career tech teachers that work in the correction system are generally required to get 3 competitive bids on one piece of equipment, and that's just a state requirement. Some districts have that requirement. You may not be under that requirement. You may just be able to go with a local vendor, but that's something you'll have to find out. What are the rules and processes in your district when it comes to competitive bidding? Another one deals with single or multi-brand equipment, and the best example I can give is if you're running an IT program, do you want to have PCs? Do you want to have Apples? Do you want to have a combination? What's out there in industry and business that's going to benefit your students the most? So do you buy one piece of one manufacturer's type of equipment? I know when I taught graphic arts and I taught students how to run printing presses, there were several different companies that made printing presses, and so which one do you buy? I think you have to find out what's being used in your local communities, what students are likely to encounter when they go to a local community college or a four-year institution, and let that help guide your decision. Another area of concern that you probably have to deal with are donations of equipment. You're going to have well-meaning people in the community that are going to want to give you things. they're perhaps seeking to get rid of something. They're going to hope to get a tax write-off as a result. But I know when I was an administrator, folks would bring us 25-year-old automobiles and want to give them to us for our students to learn on. And a lot of times those things are a double-edged sword. You'd like to take in the equipment, but it's outdated. Your students aren't going to use it in the industry when they leave your school. So you have to ask yourself, is it useful? Is it going to be beneficial to accept a donation of 10 or 15 computers that the architecture, the hardware is well out of date? You're just going to be stuck with 10 or 15 outdated computers that your students can't really use. So you have to be careful. You don't want to offend folks that are trying to be helpful, and you know, they're genuinely interested in helping you out, but at the same time you have to be careful about taking in things that are just going to take up space. Some things for you to determine and find out as a new career tech teacher is when is the cycle for your school district to purchase equipment so that you don't miss that opportunity. How the money or the amounts are determined by the school district. Usually there's a pot every year, perhaps state monies or Perkins monies, that's available for equipment purchase. How do you get you know, your hands on that? How do you get in the running to get hold of that money? How do you determine who to order things from? Does your school have a set of vendors that they've always dealt with? Are you able to go out and find new vendors? Those sorts of questions. And then what is the actual approval process? Does it go from you to your supervisor, to the principal, to the superintendent? Is the treasurer or the school business manager involved? What's the process that your district has for the approval of new equipment purchases? Other issues, supplies. These are things that are expendable, that are well under that $300 mark. These are things that you use every day: shop towels, printer cartridges, those sorts of things. They eat up a good chunk of your equipment, or of your budget. And you also need to find out what the school district processes are for your ordering supplies. Sometimes school districts will have open purchase orders where they will, for example, if you're a carpentry instructor, they'll open a purchase order for a certain amount at the local Lowe's or Home Depot, and you can just go in anytime and buy things that you need, and they're applied against that purchase order. When that purchase order is spent out, then your treasurer can start another one. And then in other cases, you set or you order a certain item and you create a purchase order, you order the item, it's delivered, that's the end of it. So again, you have to determine what are the best processes for ordering equipment. I think the thing to stress here is that you have to have a purchase order in place before you buy anything. If you don't, it's a violation of state law, and you can get in a little bit of trouble, and your administrator can get in trouble, and then the treasurer can also get in trouble. So you have to be careful about vendors who want to give you things and say, oh, we'll just wait for your purchase order before we bill you. A lot of times that doesn't happen. So a bill shows up at the treasurer's office and there's no purchase order that's been pre-done for it, and that's a violation. So make sure that you have a purchase order for anything that you purchase before it's delivered. And so those are some basic issues related to equipment, supplies, and the purchasing of these items.